Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. You might say, no, that's not possible, but I'll read you an article in The Hill. Trump calls for primary challengers to McConnell. This is today, GOP senators who vote with him. Around 2024, McConnell will leave. He will no longer be the Senate Minority Leader or potentially the Senate Majority Leader. The reason is because the next 2 years, the revelations with Twitter and the government and Democrats, the investigations into everything from Biden's mishandling of classified data, actual mishandling of classified data. Vice President does not have the authority or the powers of a commander-in-chief. So that's the big difference between Trump and mashed potato brains. And so Trump had the ability to declassify verbally, to classify at will. That's according to the Supreme Court. Furthermore, they had all the documents from Mar-a-Lago. They didn't indict him, and they would have if they could have. You can indict Biden. The difference is that you couldn't indict Trump. You could indict or charge Biden with mishandling of classified data, but they choose not to because it's Merrick Garland. So where is the special counsel? Where is the raid of Biden's homes? You're not going to get that, or you might actually. I'll do a segment on that. You might actually. That is a possibility, actually. Okay? It would give the allure or the aura or image, the public relations spin of a nonpartisan Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'll explain exactly why that could take place, even though you say, well, that'll never take place. Biden's a Democrat. There's a lot more, almost certainly a lot more to this classified data nightmare for the president than meets the eye. But McConnell is pretty much on the out. He's leaving eventually in the next 2 years. By 24, he'll be done. And you will get either Rick Scott or you'll get another person who challenges him. And it's only a vote, ladies and gentlemen. He could even stay in the Senate, but he would lose a Senate leadership vote. Okay, so Trump calls for primary challenge. This is today, but there was also an article in The Hill on McConnell faces difficult 2023 amid Trump House GOP pressures. That was in The Hill today. Now, you have to ask yourself, You have to ask yourself, how long can he endure this with a Trump Republican House of Representatives, with Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, James Comer, the House Intel Committee no longer with Adam Schiff, and with Republicans controlling and releasing 14,000 hours of secret surveillance footage showing a completely different side of what Democrats and McConnell have pushed. So the political winds are turning against him. That's my point. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, every day at 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Tomorrow morning, or today when you watch this at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I will have a very important segment, and 11 a.m. We are almost at 204,000 subscribers, and it's because of you. H.A. Goodman's other channel is doing well. And it's because of you as well. At 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. every day, I have a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel. That's growing, thankfully, thank goodness. And if you want to become a Patreon, please do so. The Patreon link is below, next to the in the description and pinned comment. The super thanks is below, next to the like and the share buttons. And you can go ahead also, ladies and gentlemen, and go to hagoodman.com to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, and the Federalist, and other publications, and become part of a newsletter there. Ladies and gentlemen, you look at Mitch McConnell, he completely undermined and tanked the Republican chances in the Senate. His authority and power increased as a result. He wanted to be known as a conduit between a House Republican majority and Democrats in the Oval Office, the Senate, and media. He benefited by not funding Adam Laxalt or Blake Masters or Herschel Walker, and instead funding a Republican going up against a Republican, Lisa Murkowski going up against a Trump Republican in Alaska. That alone proves everything. That proves there is no rebuttal to what McConnell did. There is no rebuttal. They did not win the Senate, Republicans, not because of Trump. Trump had nothing to do with that. The template and playbook is always Trump bad, from Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, to the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post. It's a template. It's a rubric. It's a game plan. It's a roadmap. That's all they do, is go after Trump 24/7. That will never change. What has to happen is McConnell should have backed fully a Republican that won the primary. Whatever primary, Georgia, Arizona, Blake Masters and Herschel Walker won their primaries. It's a moot point to say, well, if a more moderate Republican would have what they did, the person didn't. Voters had a choice for the more moderate Republican. And this wasn't the case of DNC emails showing that the Republican Party cheated a certain candidate. That's why the populists win in the Republican Party. Because the RNC doesn't do what the DNC does. Why do you think they moved Iowa in the Democratic primaries 2 years from now? Because they're tired of cheating Bernie Sanders. How many times can you have Bernie Sanders should have basically winning Iowa and losing last second because of nonsense? These are people who say, oh, 15 straight coin flips, no problem. And they're like, fact check. Bernie also won a bizarre number of coin flips, so therefore he didn't cheat. I mean, they make things up all the time. The cognitive dissonance is impenetrable. What they'll do, instead of saying they cheated Bernie Sanders, is they'll blame Russia for informing you that Bernie was cheated, thus somehow exonerating them of railroading their own candidate in a primary they're supposed to be fair and neutral. McConnell's power every month, every year from here on out will dwindle. Not increase, dwindle. You will have impeachment of Biden, either because of classified data, definitely because of Hunter. He could be impeached twice. This is a complete paradigm shift, ladies and gentlemen, and it's happening. And I want this channel and my voice and my work, my writing also, you could read my writing, a lot of it's prescient. A lot of it is prescient. It's kind of, you know, if you read my articles in the Federalist and other publications, you can see that what I was writing about is taking place. And I talked about the stock market crash in the Federalist, and the market will crash a lot more. And I predicted that in 21 when even the Federal Reserve Chairman wasn't. He's saying that inflation would be no big deal. And so we are heading into a recession, almost certainly a devastating stock market crash. One day we're going to see a greater decline, or a more profound, catastrophic decline in the market, because what's holding up the market right now, stocks, is the corporate profits. But why are corporate profits up when inflation is at 40-year highs, real wages are down, and you have supply chain issues, food shortages, a diesel shortage, and energy and oil that will eventually go back up? So you have to ask yourself, we are basically hanging by a thread. We're basically hanging by a thread. And when oil starts to go back up, oil is at a low that it cannot sustain. You have the most populous country in the world still not opening up its entire economy. Once it starts opening, if you could imagine that 3 years into all of this. Once they start opening up, and when they start opening up, and when the 200 million barrels of strategic petroleum reserves, the impact of that starts to decline or evaporate, you're going to see a huge, huge, huge problem, ladies and gentlemen. A huge issue in terms of oil prices. So, and you have a geopolitical nightmare in Europe right now. You could have one between Taiwan and China. And so the adversaries of this country are gaining steam. They're not afraid at all. And I'm not talking. What puts fear into our adversaries is not our military, the number one military in the world. What puts fear is our economy. We're in an economic decline. We will be surpassed by China and India very soon. We will be third in the world. And Democrats don't care, apparently. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, right now. And be here at 8 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. Big, important.